smart guitars have been an increasingly big thing in the past few years, namely from brands like GTRS by Moore or Enya. And these guitars all have one thing in common. They're electric, though sometimes acoustic-electric hybrids, and have some combination of guitar tones built into the instrument itself for you to plug straight into an interface, speaker, or listen to with headphones without needing an amp or a plugin in between. And over the past 3 or so years, I've collected quite a few of these smart guitars. Some really good, others not so much. And today, we're going to look into how smart guitars have evolved since their initial inception. So, our lineup for this video, ranging from oldest to most recent, the Enya Music Nova Go Acoustic Electric at roughly €280, the GTRS W900 and M800 at €980 and €700 respectively, the Lava Mi 4 Acoustic Electric at €1,200, the Enya Nova Go Sonic at around €400, the Natasha Guitars Nebula at €500, and the newest release, the Enya Music Inspire at around $530. These 7 guitars will be going head to head today, not only to see the evolution of smart guitars, but also to see which one delivers the best bang for your buck overall, and whether the older generations are still worth buying nowadays. Full disclosure, Enya have agreed to pay for this video since I certainly needed one company to compensate me for the time it takes to make a giant video like this, but that is in no way going to give them an unfair advantage, as you will see in just a bit if you continue watching. Affiliate links for all these guitars will also be listed in the description as well as the pinned comment. I make a small commission on each purchase made through those, and it supports the channel more than you know. So let's get to it. This is the Enya Nova Go, an acoustic guitar made from carbon fiber plastic composite material that ideally should have a little cylinder inside it that acts as a speaker and connects directly to the headphone and line jack output of the guitar. But why do I say it like that? Well, because back when Enya reached out to send this to me for a review, sometime in 2022 I believe, it broke pretty much immediately. The speaker that's supposed to be inside it is a little solid plastic cylinder that just floats unsupported inside the empty body cavity, and so that broke off before I even got a chance to try it properly. I made an attempt to fix it just to be able to check out the sounds, but ended up telling Enya that I can't make the video because I can't review a product that I can't even give a try because it breaks immediately upon arrival. It's safe to say the brand has come a long way since then though, and took the criticism from people like myself to put some more money into R&D for future products, and I've never encountered an issue like this again. Putting aside the dysfunctional smart aspect of it though, the guitar itself was also not amazing. It primarily just feels quite plasticky. However, it does have the somewhat weatherproof qualities of the carbon fiber blend, as well as generally very good tuning stability. It doesn't sound very exciting raw without effects, but for the sake of completion, I must let you hear that anyway. Please bear in mind for all mic'd up room sound recordings in this video that I am anything but a professional when it comes to miking up guitars directly without a cab, but I'll do my very best. These two are probably the most well-known and popular out of the lot in this video. Let's start with the GTRS W900 headless. This is one of the oldest versions of the GTRS smart guitars, predated only by the standard Strat style, which I don't own because why would I when this beauty exists? For under $1,000, this brings you not just amazing playability with the roasted maple neck, 24 frets, and its slight multi-scale, which doesn't really have an effect on the string tension but is way more comfortable on your playing hand than standard scale, but its built-in tones are also probably the best on the market right now. It's got this LED knob right here, and technically, you can just engage that knob and switch between whatever 4 presets preload on it, but the fun really starts when you bust out the app. Because the app has like a full-on amp simulator suite in it. Dozens of amps, an entire effects chain with anything you could want in it, and you can save and reorder your presets anywhere you want, so that in the future, if you can settle on just 4 tone presets in a rotation, you won't even need the app anymore, and can just control everything with this one button. And Moore make a separately available foot switch for these as well, which is appropriately dusty, because I prefer to use either the app or the button. I don't really use this, but in a stage setting, this is probably really cool. It's intuitive, you can easily assemble an entire signal chain that sounds good enough for any jam session or a small gig, you can effortlessly switch between presets, and if you get tired of the built-in tech, or if the battery dies, you can plug it into an amp and have a great sounding regular guitar. The M800 is exactly the same, only in a sleek Superstrat design with locking tuners, as opposed to a headless. I actually can't decide which one I like more. I usually find myself reaching for this one for rhythm guitar, and the headless for leads. So what are the drawbacks of these two? Well, really only the price tag. The M800 is very reasonably priced at €700, to the point where I feel like they could even go higher and make it 800, and nobody would bat an eye. The W900 headless sits just under 1,000 these days. And while I find that to be worth every penny, a lot of people are looking for something more affordable in a smart guitar. They want something to travel with that's durable, and this, while very well suited for travel due to the fact that it's headless and usable with headphones, is very much designed to also be as good of a guitar as possible, which drives the price up and isn't needed for many people's applications. I mean, if I'm just going off of my own behavior here, I don't remember the last time I used these as smart guitars and even flicked this switch on. In fact, I think the battery on this one might actually be dead, yeah. I just like them so much that they're some of my go-to regular guitars. The Lava Mi 4, excuse the exposure on the camera, this thing really is white as it gets, is an interesting one. I made a video about it just recently, and I honestly quite enjoyed the time I spent testing it for that video. It was a good time. The guitar plays nicely, and the built-in effects are honestly super good and very, very versatile. However, the comments under that video kinda shocked me. Like I said, I enjoyed playing this thing. I will never fail to let you know when I don't enjoy something, as evident by this video, or this one, but the Lava Mi 4 actually brought me some joy. It basically took the concept of what the old Enya has, you know, the pink sparkly one from the start, and improved upon it to make it more durable, since there isn't just some free-floating cylinder in the cavity here, and they made it much, much more versatile. While the older Enya stuff basically just comes with a predetermined clean drive, distortion, and lead setting, here you have an entire screen interface where you can also build your own effects signal chain. However, this screen is also sort of bloated with a lot of features that aren't really necessary. It almost feels like Lava took the smart bit very, very literally and just tried cramming a social media platform as well as a gallery app and a musician-esque practice app into this thing. But you can record directly onto the cloud using the Lava interface, you can plug it into an acoustic amp to unlock even more effects that would cause feedback if used with the integrated speaker, such as drive effects or really heavy reverbs, and it's got an absolutely room-filling sound with the the effects engaged. The drawbacks though, and I mean, besides the $1,200 price tag, a lot of people actually don't like the carbon fiber plastic blend material that's being used here. It objectively doesn't do that much for durability since the percentage of carbon fiber in it is much lower than in composite materials used by brands like Aristides, and it just looks and feels worse than a wooden acoustic would as well. In fact, I mentioned in the original review video, the finish is kind of inconsistent. It's very, very nice up here in just a satin white, but then the farther down the body you go, it gets kind of sandy and grainy down here, and while that's not a deal breaker for me, it's definitely a result of having this material with a coat of finish on top as opposed to wood. But in that case, it is worth mentioning that there does exist a wood version, or at least one with a solid spruce top. The sides and fretboard are HPL, or high pressure laminate, which is the same stuff used in very cheap flooring that looks like hardwood but isn't. So while I can understand anybody who says this guitar isn't for them, as well as anybody who says it's incredibly ugly because, yep. Personally, I've quite enjoyed it for the time that I've had it so far. Ugh. A lot of talking. This is one that I guarantee you've seen online at some point throughout the past year. Enya invested ungodly sums of money into advertising campaigns for this guitar, but that's not for no reason. This one is a fully electric guitar made of a similar carbon fiber plastic composite material to the Lava Me 4, but if I'm not mistaken, it's a little thicker and a little tougher on this one. And what makes this one stand out from the others we've already tested is that it's got a built-in speaker. I've got a nice camera exposure setting going, so I'm not going to mess with that, but boy does this thing just look like the sun. And this speaker amplifies its built-in tones directly through the guitar, so you don't need to plug it in for a quick 20-minute practice session. It's also USB-C rechargeable like all of the others we've seen already, has a headphone jack for silent practice, and of course also functions as a regular guitar via the standard output jack. And if you leave the effects engaged while it's plugged into a speaker via the output jack, it can also just amplify those. 22 frets, 24 and 3/4 inch scale, string through to pneumatic bridge, a 0 fret, which I actually quite like, and a coil split for the 2 humbuckers. The tonal variety, though, isn't fantastic on here. It's not terrible. You can use the app to build a signal chain consisting of one of 2 amp models and a very rudimentary selection of effects, but it is definitely nowhere near as advanced as the stuff that comes with the GTRS app. And another issue that it does have, though it's not as bad on my particular one as I've heard other people say it is on theirs, is feedback. Now, it is only logical that a speaker placed 4 inches from the bridge pickup of a guitar and screwed into essentially a plastic body which transfers all of the vibration across to the pickups would cause some amount of feedback. It's not debilitating though. It hasn't made me enjoy the guitar any less, and it isn't really a huge issue while playing. It's actually worse once you stop playing, and a little bit of random speaker noise gets into the pickups while the strings are able to vibrate freely because you're not currently muting them with your hands. At a price point of less than half of one of the GTRS guitars though, this one is a winner. I like it. I said that in my initial review, like, I don't know, probably a year ago at this point when I made a video on it, and I do use it on a regular basis. I rent a little secondary studio/storage room pretty much on the other side of town, and that place isn't climate controlled at all, so this is the guitar that I leave in the room to squeeze in a little noodling session here and there, because I don't need an amp for it, and it remains pretty unfazed by the constant changes in humidity and temperature in that old rancid building. The Nebula by Natasha Guitars is one that you're unlikely to have seen before. It hasn't really gotten a lot of eyes on it in the West, but I got to try it at Music China in Shanghai last October, and it's amazing. It takes what our last competitor, the Nova Go Sonic, does, and brings it to the next level entirely. We've once again got a single cut-shaped carbon fiber blend body, neck, and fretboard, but this time in a more versatile HSS configuration and with a hipshot style fixed bridge as opposed to the string through 2 pneumatic from before, which personally I prefer. I like the design of hipshot style bridges. The concept, however, is pretty much identical. It's got a built-in speaker, 22 frets, USB-C for charging, headphone output, and the regular line output jack. But what makes this one more expensive and more advanced? 2 things. More tonal versatility, and less reliance on having your phone out to use the mobile app with it. It does come with an app, but you rely on it much less with the Nebula than with the Nova Go Sonic or any of the others we've seen before. You have a lot more options for tones here, and it has an onboard drum and guitar looper function. You can create loops and also play along to preset drum loops with the apps on all of the other guitars, but the Nebula actually has onboard buttons for that stuff. You can change the tempo of the drums or the metronome with one of the knobs, record 1 or 2 bars as a rhythm loop, and then noodle over it to your heart's content. I must also add that without telling me first, Natasha shipped this plaque to me alongside the guitar, declaring me an official ambassador of the Natasha Nebula guitar, without telling me about it first, which I think is quite funny. Overall, though, this guitar is exactly what comes to my mind when I think about the evolution of guitars like this. It took what a previous generation from another brand offered, and it took it to the next level while maintaining a reasonable price. Aesthetically, you may be more drawn to the Enya than to the Natasha, not only because one has the name of an Eastern European prostitute, but because it also kinda looks like you tried shaping Ditto into a Les Paul. But I don't despise how it looks, and for instruments like this that are never going to see a stage or a music video shoot, it's function over form all the way. So now, we've only got one more to go. The Enya Inspire guitar is the most recent, and dare I say most beautiful one on this list. And Inspire it does. This guitar takes the best bits of the Nova Go Sonic and jacks them up by another level or 2. What do I hate most about the previous one? Right, the fact that it's Les Paul shaped. Well, here is an elegant and somewhat original take on a Superstrat shape. On the Inspire, which is clearly more metal player oriented as well, we are rocking a standard 25.5-inch scale, 24 frets with a 0 fret for good measure, as well as an HSS configuration with coil split for more versatility than the Nova Go Sonic with its dual humbuckers. And, perhaps most importantly, a Strat style tremolo. The only tremolo that I will still accept in my life. I have plenty of guitars that do still have a Strat style trem. Anything else, Kayla, Floyd Rose, whatever, I've sold because I got sick of them. And if we turn it around, the back might look strange to you for a second, but that's because it features something that I've never seen before on any guitar. And that's not saying it doesn't exist yet, but I've played a lot of guitars and have never encountered this. A spoke wheel tremolo spring claw adjustment screw, and one that is out in the open and uncovered so that you don't have to go and unscrew the backplate to get to it and then go at it with a right-angled screwdriver, like on most guitars. And if you're wondering what all the dots are on the back of it, they're just little bits of rubber that kind of try to hide all of the screws in the back so that it looks uniformly purple in some way at least. How nice is this purple, by the way? It's just I like it. I like purple. Sound-wise, though, we are still working with what we were before. However, it seems slightly different for two reasons. A, the speaker is louder, which makes the entire thing appear sort of more out there and less narrow. And B, they somehow managed to get the light feedback issue of the Novago Sonic under control. As I mentioned earlier, the previous generation from Enya had a slight feedback issue. Some users even reported quite a significant one, not myself particularly. And with the Inspire, they've somehow fixed that. Now, I'm not going to take this apart and void the warranty in order to find out how they've done that, but one can assume, and my assumption, is that they've just placed some sort of soft foam-like material between the speaker and the inside of the guitar body that it's screwed to sort of decouple the two parts and minimize vibration passing through the body. And it also seems like the speaker might be like an extra inch away from the bridge pickup on this one, which, as minuscule as it sounds, can make a big difference. And this actually makes for a more realistic amplifier effect, because you can still cause feedback, but intentionally and controlled. So you can do what some players will do with a regular guitar and an amp stack, where you go and hold it up real close to the cab until it starts squealing. I'm sure you've seen some artists do that on stage. So if I just fret a random note right now, and hold it for a while and give it some slight vibrato, there you go. Feedback. But the cool kind, not the shit unintentional kind. And this one comes with a foot switch included, as opposed to the GTRS one, where it needs to be purchased separately. As you can tell, I've left it in its packaging because I don't want it to also just collect a bunch of dust like the other one has, because I'm not going to use the foot switch. But this lets you switch between the presets directly, as in, go from 1 to 4 and then 4 back to 2, without having to cycle through them 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like we have to do with a single button on the body. And those kinds of little fixes are exactly what made me want to make this video. You've all seen reviews on gear like this individually, I've made plenty of those myself, but having the progress laid out in a timeline in one video hasn't been done yet. So, all that's left to do now is to rank all of these. It wouldn't be fair, though, to rank them all on one spectrum since they all do different things, so we'll be splitting the rankings up into a few different categories. Tonal versatility and quality of the tones, usability as a regular guitar, travel friendliness, and overall value for money. In the category of tonal versatility, the GTRS guitars have to take first place. They're the most expensive, but they let you dial in basically gig-ready sounds with an entire amp simulator suite baked in. Second place will have to be the Natasha Nebula, with a vast library of sound options compared to the others. Third place is the Lava Mi 4, simply because these newer generations of Lava guitars even come with distortion effects that can be applied when plugged into an amp, which is really cool for an acoustic electric. And tied for fourth place are the Enya Inspire and Novago Sonic, because they share one sound library. These sounds are more than enough for a practice session or even a quick unplugged jam session if you don't have a drummer to keep up with volume-wise, but they definitely offer fewer options than the others. And I feel like this old piece of junk, we may as well just disregard and take that out of the ranking. Enya have clearly made significant improvements to their products and development process since releasing that disservice to all musicians, so let's just focus on those products, First place for usability as a regular guitar will once again have to go to the GTRS. They feel like any high-quality import guitar should, and sound very, very nice through a regular amp, thanks to the high-quality, high-output pickups. Second place is the Enya Inspire for sure. The playability on that thing is second to none when it comes to carbon fiber travel guitars, and the trem adds an extra layer of fun as opposed to the fixed bridge options. It also does not knock it out of tune easily whatsoever, as you might expect a budget guitar with a tremolo to do. Third place is the Lava Mi 4, since it is just an acoustic guitar, so even with the effects disengaged, it's still fun to use. The only reason it isn't higher up on here is because it does sound a tad bit dry compared to a solid wood acoustic guitar. And fourth and fifth place are definitely the Novago Sonic and Natasha Nebula respectively. The humbuckers on the Enya are just a bit more fun through a real amp than the HSS pickups on the Natasha. Travel friendliness is twofold. Technically, the GTRS headless should just take the cake for being headless and therefore more portable, but there is more to travel friendliness than just physical size. Because, in my opinion, the Novago Sonic deserves first place here. Sure, it's larger than the headless, but it has a built-in speaker so that you don't need to additionally take a pair of headphones with you. GTRS headless in second, the Nebula and Inspire tied for third because while they do also have the speaker, they just don't have as slim and subtle of a profile as the other one. I'll put the Lava Mi 4 in fourth place because while it is still a big boy acoustic guitar, it is shortened. It's not a regular full-scale 25.5 inch. It is more portable than a regular acoustic, if you will, but it doesn't really deserve to go any higher than fourth place in this case. And the GTRS M800 in fifth place because it's just the size of any regular guitar, the opposite of travel friendly. Overall, value for money, I gotta give first place to the Enya Inspire. It's just very good. For roughly $500, maybe $520 or something, you're getting a guitar that feels fantastic. This is genuinely just a joy to play. It sounds great through an amp. The tremolo, coil split, HSS, and 24 frets give it the most versatile configuration out of the lineup, and the speaker is a noticeable upgrade from previous generations or competitors. Also, it comes in a black and purple burst. I like purple, which immediately makes me biased towards this, because I don't think the other ones come in purple. Actually, the Natasha might. I'm really not sure. Second place is the GTRS M800. It's got everything the headless has, for some reason for less money. My only assumption is that the headless bridge costs a bunch more to produce than this sort of cheap-ish hipshot knockoff, and the M800 comes in simpler finish options, or at least the older ones do. This is one of the first production ones. They actually do now make them with like transparent finishes on burl tops and stuff, which I feel like is probably going to cost more. But this is not only an amazing standalone guitar, but a fun practice tool and a great piece to use on stage or in a music video because it just looks sleek and aggressive and has an aluminium pickguard. I just love it. Third place in overall value for money is the Natasha Nebula because it just feels overall a bit smoother and more refined than the Novago Sonic, which takes a proud fourth place. It's still fun to play, but is noticeably the most affordable in the lineup. Fifth place goes to the Lava Mi 4 because it's just a bit expensive, you know? Like, I don't really know what the overhead is on these, and I know how thin margins are in the guitar industry these days. Believe me, I do. I work in distribution now. And these guys do not work with any OEM manufacturers or anything, because this stuff is all completely tailored to fit this guitar and this guitar only. But I still feel like, I don't know, $100 or $200 less would make this a better deal. I just don't know if that's feasible with the production costs, but I don't know. I like this thing, I've said that before and I'll say that again, but compared to everything in this lineup, value for money is not impeccable. It is the only decent acoustic in the lineup though, so yeah. And sixth place goes to the GTRS W900 headless. Not because it's in any way worse than the one with a headstock, but because you're not getting any additional features for the extra $200 to $240 that you're spending. That being said though, it is the only headless that's ever managed to stick with me, and all the others I've ever had, I've either sold or returned after buying. This thing just gels with me better than any other headless ever has. So while I did give it last place in overall value for money, it is one of the first guitars I will reach to for lead playing, honestly. But if you're just looking to get the most affordable GTRS metal experience, the one with the headstock is the one to go with, because it offers everything besides, you know, the lightweight sort of sleek headless factor. I hope this big giant video has helped you figure out which one of these is best suited for your specific needs. Tell me in the comments which one would be your go-to, or which one is your go-to, which one you have, which one you like most. Remember that if you do want to buy any of these, or really anything ever in the world on Thomann or Sweetwater or any other website, affiliate links are in the description and the pinned comment, and that helps out the channel greatly and fantastically. Thank you to Enya for actually, allowing me to make this video and not have wasted like a week of scripting and editing and filming and whatnot without being paid for it. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.